Hello, story lovers. Welcome back to African Folktale with Neze. They say power gives a man everything he wants. Well, except love. True, pure love. I didn't believe it until I heard the story of King Kura, the ruler of our village in the hills of Jos. King Kura was the most powerful man in the village. He had wealth, 3 wives, many children, and the respect of his people. But there was one thing that he could not have. Amina, the most beautiful maiden in the village. Amina was not just beautiful, she was kind and smart and full of life. King Kura wanted Amina by every means, but Amina was already promised to Yakubu, a young farmer who had loved her since they were children. The people in the village admired Yakubu for his hard work and his honesty. They were very excited for Yakubu and Amina's wedding, and their love was celebrated by everyone. Well, everyone except King Kura. The moment King Kura laid his eyes on Amina and Yakubu playing in the sunny maize fields, he was consumed with jealousy. How can a poor farmer like Yakubu win the heart of this rare beauty? He said. As a king, Kura believed that he could have everything that he desired. He had 3 wives already, but none compared to Amina in his eyes. He wanted her for a fault, and so he made a decision. Yakubu will be removed, and Amina would be his. Right behind the king's quarters stood a royal storehouse. It was a very large barn full of tubers and grains that kept the people alive during the hard times. The people knew that without the grains they would starve, so they trusted their king to protect it. But what the villagers didn't know was that their king had become greedy. So late at night, when everyone was asleep, King Kura would dress like a servant and sneak into the storehouse. He would take sacks of grains and tubers, load them onto carts, and sell them to faraway traders, keeping all the money for himself. As the grains began to disappear, the villagers started whispering. The king knew that he needed a scapegoat, and of course, he chose Yakubu. Talk about killing 2 birds with a stone. Using his power, King Kura falsely accused Yakubu of stealing from the royal storehouse, calling fabricated witnesses to claim that they had seen him sneaking under the cover of the darkness. With the weight of the king's words behind the lie, the villagers, fearful and unwilling to challenge their ruler, accepted the accusation, and Yakubu was summoned to court. While the grain had disappeared by the king's own hands, Yakubu, an innocent man, was forced to bear the blame. There was one punishment for theft in the village: banishment. Yakubu was forced to leave the village, heartbroken, ridiculed, and confused. As he walked towards the edge of the village, Amina met him there, tears rolling down her cheeks. "I will wait for you," Amina promised, "no matter how long it takes." Yakubu gave her one last look, filled with sorrow, yet laced with hope, and then he disappeared into the forest, leaving everything and everyone he knew behind. Believing that he had won, King Kura began his attempt to win Amina's affection. He showered her with gifts, fine clothing, gold, and sweet promises. But Amina rejected every one of his advances. Her heart belonged to Yakubu, and Yakubu alone. Lost and wandering deep into the forest, Yakubu was unsure of what his future held. Banished from his village, separated from the woman he loved, and with no family to turn to, he felt utterly defeated. After days of wandering, with neither food nor water, he was exhausted. He collapsed behind a large, ancient tree. As he laid there, he felt his life aching away from him. He was losing consciousness. And just when he was confronted with death head on, a figure appeared before him. It was a mysterious spirit, neither man nor animal, glowing faintly in the dim light of the forest. The spirit spoke to Yakubu in a soft but powerful voice. "You have been wronged, Yakubu," it said, "but your heart is pure. I will grant you a gift that no man possesses, a power to heal the sick and bring life back to those who have crossed to the greater beyond." Yakubu, unsure if he was dreaming, accepted the spirit's blessing, and from that moment, he was no longer a simple farmer. He had been given the ability to heal people and restore life back to the dead. And with this gift, Yakubu began traveling village to village, using his new powers to help those who were suffering. His reputation as a healer spread quickly, and many sought him out for his miraculous abilities. Yet, despite all of this fame, Yakubu never returned to his village. The pain of being banished was too much to bear, and he feared that he would never see Amina again. Back in the village, King Kura faced a crisis. Despite his wealth and power, Amina still rejected him. Worse yet, his 3 young sons, his only sons, suddenly became gravely ill. The royal healers tried everything, but the boys only grew weaker by the day. Oh, the entire palace was in mourning, and the king grew desperate with every passing day. King Kura sent messengers to every village and town, every nook and cranny, offering a great reward to anyone who could heal his sons. Yet, many people tried, but no healer could save them. The sickness worsened, and soon the people began to whisper that maybe the gods were punishing the king for his many atrocities. One day, a traveler from a distant village came to King Kura's court with news. "There is a man," the traveler said, "a young healer who can cure even the sickest of people. His name is Yakubu." The king's heart stopped at the mention of that name, Yakubu. Yakubu? The same man that he had banished from the village? The man whose life he had tried to ruin was now the only one who could save his sons? Oh, King Kura knew what he had to do. Swallowing his pride, he sent his men to find Yakubu and bring him back to the village. When the king's guards found Yakubu, he was healing a sick in a faraway village. They fell on their knees and bowed before him and explained that the king's sons were dying and they needed his help urgently. At first, Yakubu hesitated. He remembered the pain of being falsely accused and banished and losing everything just because of the king's wickedness and jealousy. But as he thought about Amina and the little children who were suffering, he knew that he could not turn away. He agreed to return. When Yakubu arrived at the village, the people were shocked to see him. Many remembered how he was unjustly punished and banished, and they whispered amongst themselves as he made his way into the palace. When Yakubu entered the palace, King Kura did something that no one expected. The mighty king fell to his knees before Yakubu. "Yakubu," the king said, his voice trembling, "I wronged you. I let my jealousy, greed, and pride lead me to banish an innocent man. But now, I beg you, not as a king, but as a father, please, Yakubu, save my sons." Yakubu stood in silence for a moment. He had never imagined seeing the powerful, feared king kneeling before him in desperation and surrender. But Yakubu was not a man of vengeance or hatred. He had been given a gift by the gods to help others, and he knew that he could not turn away from the innocent. "I forgive you," Yakubu said softly, lifting the king to his feet. "Not for you, but for your children and for the village who are about to lose their heirs." The king wept even further. With that, Yakubu approached the king's sons, who were lying pale and weak in their beds. He placed his hands on their forehead, whispering a quiet prayer, and within moments, the boys' color returned and their breathing steadied. The sickness had left them. Oh, the king wept with relief, and the entire palace rejoiced. But Yakubu's thoughts were elsewhere. He scanned through the crowd for Amina, and there she was, standing in the distance, her eyes filled with tears of happiness. With his sons healed and peace restored, King Kura made a public confession and apology to Yakubu in the presence of the entire village. He renounced his claim to Amina and gave his blessing for her to marry Yakubu. "I have learned," the king said, "that power and wealth means nothing without love, integrity, and humility. Yakubu, you are the true leader of this village, for you have shown the strength of forgiveness." The village was thrown into celebration as Yakubu and Amina were reunited at last. Their wedding was the grandest celebration the village had ever seen. Yakubu's name was no longer spoken with pity, but with respect. He had become a symbol of hope and redemption. As for King Kura, he ruled with kindness and humility from that day forward. He never forgot the lesson that he had learned, that love cannot be forced, and even kings must bow before the power of forgiveness and true love. And so in the hills of Jos, the village thrived, with Yakubu and Amina's love leading the way, and King Kura's redemption serving as a reminder that even the greatest men can be humbled at life's events. Dear story lovers, in today's story, I learned the power of forgiveness. What did you learn? Do drop your thoughts and lessons down in the comments section. And so, my dear story lovers, that brings us to the end of today's story. If you're new here, you're seeing our story or hearing our voice for the first time, or if you've watched us without subscribing, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, drop all your comments down in the comment section, and stay glued because we have so much more coming your way. It's African Folktale with Neze, and I'll see you guys in our next one. For now, bye.